Hey everyone, and welcome to the channel. My name is Ash, and today I'm doing a tier list based on the Outright Games releases. Now, with their DC Justice League game coming out this week, I thought, why don't I jump in and have a go at a tier list for their games? I've been wanting to do it for a while, but I thought, you know what, it seems like the right time to do it. So this is a tier list off of Tier Maker. I haven't made it myself, so there are a couple of games I haven't played that I wouldn't have put on, so I'm going to leave them off as we go through. And it's also missing their newest game, the Gigantosaurus Dino Kart, which came out like a week or two ago as well. So other than that, this pretty much has all of the cool sort of outright games, sort of tie-in games, which not enough companies make anymore. I'm going to be ranking them from S to D. Now, this is going to be ranked on my sort of enjoyment of the game. I'm not saying these games, like, if they get an S, are going to be like God tier sort of game of the year, best game ever made, AAA, but they are enjoyable games to play. So I'm going to jump straight in, and we're going to work our way through all the ones that I have played, and it's a good chunk of them. So, first up, I'm going to start with Blaze and the Monster Machines Axle City Racers. This is going into B. Now, this game looks great if you're a fan of Blaze and the Monster Machines. My kids used to when they were little, they absolutely loved it. And then they changed it up where there was like animal cars and stuff like that as well. This game, like I say, it looks and sounds the part. It's got like the voice cast, it's got all the cool environments. It's just really slow. So my kids had just sort of outgrown this sort of level of game when it came out. And we played it. I got the 1000 game score. It's a very easy 1000 game score as well. But the driving feels very sluggish compared to other driving games, and it kind of bored my kids after a while. Like, they liked it for a little bit, but my son is playing like Forza and faster racing games now, so he wants a bit more of a challenge, and he just didn't get that from that game. Now, next up is Ice Age. Now, this is the Scratch one. It's going up in ST because it's a very, very good platformer game. Very like old school. It kind of reminds me of the sort of game you get on the PS2, but obviously for modern consoles. And there's not enough Ice Age games. It's sort of like a forgotten franchise nowadays. Like, even Disney don't do proper release films for it, so it is what it is. But definitely play that. It's a very, very good platforming game. Now we're going to go with Ryan's Rescue Squad. This is going into B. It's a fun little game. It's got co-op, but the co-op very much feels like Sonic 2's co-op, where the second person just sort of runs around, does what they want, and can disappear off the screen. Or the first player, if he runs too far ahead, you get lost. It's that kind of co-op. But the game is like a side-scrolling platformer, and it has a lot of cues from sort of like classic games. It definitely feels like a kids version, like an easier kids version of like Mario and Donkey Kong Country and stuff like that. There's even a level where you're firing through barrels and stuff like that. Very, very sort of reminiscent of Donkey Kong Country. It's even got like boss fights and stuff like that, very similar to like Sonic the Hedgehog as well at the end of stages. It's a fun little game. Kids like it. My kids enjoyed it. The jump is a bit weird. You have to like hold the jump button down to go higher, which is frustrating for little kids that don't understand. They're just pressing the button. But once you get used to it, it's not a bad game at all. Next up, I'm going to do Super Pets, the DC Pets film that came out, I think it was last year or the year before. This is going in A. It's a sort of on-rails shoot-'em-up, basically. You play as either the dog Superman, I believe it's Crypto. Apologies if I'm getting the names wrong. Or the Batman dog. And you basically, it reminds me of like Gallagher, but in like 3D on rails instead of it being like a vertical shooter. So you're dodging enemy patterns, you've got special attacks and stuff like that. Really, really fun. It's not the longest of games, but it's really fun. And you also have like a pet raising mini game. So you save pets in the level, and then you have to sort of feed them and the right items for their likes, and it umps the level up, and then when they get full they can be adopted, and that basically gives you like a bonus. So it's a fun little mini game in what is a very sort of solid sort of on-rail shooter game. Right, next up. Right, so this is going in C, Transformers Battlegrounds. I haven't played a lot of it, so it's only going in C because I've only played like the first two missions, and I just felt it was a little too slow for me. Now, I haven't got a copy at the moment. I'm hoping to get a copy soon so I can do a full playthrough, retry it, and see what it's like. Because there is another Transformers game coming from Outright Games, I believe, later this year. So I'd like to get through this one before that one comes out. So it's currently at C based on my only like short playtime of it, so that's a C game from me. Now, I'm gonna start firing some through here. Let's see what we've got. My Little Pony B. It's a fun little game. My daughter loves it, but it is very, very short. Very simple. It is a platforming game, but like I say, it's just really, really, really short. And she got through it in like 3 hours, and then was like, "Oh, now what do I do?" And I'm like, "Play it again." So there's that, unfortunately. But it's great to see a My Little Pony game come out. I wish they'd make one with the last gen of My Little Pony. I understand why they don't, because it's the current gen is on TV, it's on Netflix and everything. But I'd love to see like a 2D My Little Pony game based on the old like 2D animated one. I say the old one, the last 2D animated one, not the like the 80s one. But I don't think we're ever going to see one of them now, unless they do some sort of weird crossover in the future. Fingers crossed, because my daughter is still a big MLP fan. Now we've got JoJo Siwa's Worldwide Party. Weirdly, I quite enjoyed this one. I played this with my daughter. My daughter did a review video on YouTube, which was part of our Outright Games ambassador, should I say, coverage. And it's like a side-scrolling rhythm game, and you basically have to dodge and jump to the beat of the music. And now it features like a few of her like hit songs, and you can change your costumes. There's also like a dance mini game at the end of each of the sort of areas. Surprisingly fun to play, simple but also hard to master. Just getting those beats right. Yeah, I like a good rhythm game, and I was honestly surprised how good that one was. Right, another great game for me is Jumanji. I really enjoyed this game. It's a little short in terms of like if you just play it from start to finish once, but it's split up into like shorter chunks. You basically just replay the missions, and you have to basically get from one end to the other, avoiding traps, enemies, stuff like that. It's multiplayer online co-op as well, which is really nice. I haven't got a copy anymore. I got rid of it ages ago, so I really want to get another copy to do a full review on this. I love the Jumanji films, and all of them, the first and the two sort of modern ones, and they've got good likenesses in this game. The voices aren't obviously the right people, but it is a fun little game in short bursts. But I still have to get the achievement for like unlocking all the levels. It's just a bit of a grind, and I sort of moved on to the games, but I'm determined to go back and finish it for that 1000 gamer score. But it's really fun. A little sort of, it's not a violent-esque shooter, but it's like third person, and yeah, it's really cool. All the characters have different abilities and stuff and work together. Definitely check it out. Let's have a look. What else we got here? Last Kids on Earth, a solid A. We recently reviewed it on the channel, and yeah, it's a solid little game. Highly recommend it. I quite enjoyed it. I haven't played it all the way to the end, but Sentinel did for the review, and he recommended it as well. And it was on Game Pass for a time. I think it is just left, unfortunately, but at the time, he said it was really good. Now, I'm going to pick a bad one, and I say bad, it's not the worst game I've ever played, but in terms of ranking this with other Outright games, I do not like Hotel Transylvania 3. I think it's called Monsters Overboard or something like that. I just didn't enjoy it. I didn't like the gameplay loop. It was just a bit janky for me, and I could never really get super into it. So, unfortunately, it's going in the D category. It's the only Outright game I've sort of given up on midway through. Maybe I'll go back and replay it, but for now, honestly, I don't know what it is. I just did not like it, and it's a shame because I love Hotel Transylvania as well. I think it's such a good movie series for the kids. Okay, next up, we have got the original Ben 10 game. It's going in B. It's not a bad game at all. It obviously was the first of the Ben 10 games. They did get better later on, so like I've played Power Trip, and I much prefer Power Trip. So Power Trip's going to go into A. It's a much more improved game. Play Power Trip first, but also the original is worth playing as well. It's also, like I say, they're normally on sale quite a lot, or you can get them in like a bundle, I believe. So if you can pick them up like that, highly recommend it. Now, another one that's going in C is Ugly Dolls. This is a weird one. It's like, it's got a story mode, but it's also entirely like procedurally generated, the city that you play in. So every time you play it, it's a different layout, so you can never sort of run through it quickly and know where everything is. It all looks very similar and samey. I like the graphics of the characters that are like 2D to the 3D environments, but it basically just boils down to being a giant fetch quest game. Now, it does have like multiplayer, and my kids enjoyed it because they like the Ugly Dolls film. It's now been delisted, so you're not able to get it digitally. You have to buy it physically. But it is a short game as well. But you just literally like collect 10 of this, collect 10 of that, collect 3 of this, collect 4 of that. There's not a huge amount to it, and it does get a bit draining after a while. Now, next up, Paw Patrol. So the original Paw Patrol game is going in B. It's not that bad a game. Like I say, this is another one where it starts off okay and builds up as the series goes on. Definitely improved over time. So Mighty Pups was a much better game. In my opinion, it added new features to the game and stuff like that. More mini games, multiplayer, stuff like that. City Calls is staying in B with the original, mainly because when we first played it, it was plagued with glitches and bugs and stuff like that, and literally you couldn't play the game on Xbox. You'd get stuck on the menu. There was like a menu glitch in between levels, and it just made it unplayable, which spoiled it for us. We have since finished it, but it did really ruin the sort of feeling we had of the game. The actual game isn't bad. It does improve on it, adds extra characters and stuff like that, but the bugs at the time of launch, these have since been fixed, so don't worry, people. But I just think they could have done a better job before putting it out. Ooh, what's next? So, Fast and Furious Spy Racers is going in S. Now, I haven't played a lot of this, but we recently did a review of it, and my son has played a ton of it, and he likes the sort of fast-pacedness of it. He likes all the gadgets and abilities, the amount of different race tracks there are and environments, the different amount of cars. He thinks it's much better and quicker than some of the other racing games outright games have put out. Not in a bad way, but like I say, he likes it fast-paced. It looks good. It sort of links in with the TV series, and there's also some DLC out, which is on sale right now on Xbox as well. So I'm probably going to pick that up for him, and we'll cover that as a separate review as well in the future. So yeah, definitely check that one out. Now, another one that's going in A is Crayola Scoot. This is a sort of weird idea for a game. It's basically a sort of scooter game where you play as kids, but it's kind of like if Tony Hawk's met Splatoon, but with scooters and Crayola. It's weird, it's great, and it's really fun to play. It has also been delisted, but you can pick it up physically still. But yeah, really, really good sort of sports-like game. If you know, like the Tony Hawk sort of competitive modes, like horse and paint and stuff like that, you'll like this sort of game. It's bright, it's colourful, and it's kid-friendly as well. Now, one I was surprised at is Race with Ryan. It's going in A. Solid racing game, handles really well, like you can drift and stuff like that. It's got bright, colourful environments. Only complaint that stops it being higher is the lack of tracks available in it. Now, they did bring out some DLC packs which added extra tracks and extra characters, which is great, but they aren't in the original release, so the original release doesn't get as high a rating for that. So check it out though, it's a really fun little game. I'm not the biggest Ryan fan, I detest my kids watching it, but as a racing game goes, it's quite fun, quite fast paced, and me and my kids played quite a lot of it, and it's another easy 1000 gamer score as well. Right, let's see what else we've got here. We have got PJ Mask. Now, I'm putting PJ Mask in B, mainly because it's solo player only, and it really feels like a game that could do with a a multiplayer mode. It's about three kids who are like a team of crime fighting heroes that go out in the evening, but it's all single player, and you basically each level you sort of switch between each of the characters as you progress. Very much feels like the Paw Patrol games reskinned with PJ Masks. Not a bad thing for kids at all. Like I say, it's a simple platforming game with some like vehicle sections in, but it would really benefit in my eyes with a co-op mode or a multiplayer mode, especially since it's a team of superheroes. Now, while I'm doing this list, I've noticed there's a couple of missing ones here. Like there's the LOL Surprise game and the Bratz game missing. However, there's LOL Surprise Movie Maker and Bratz Total Fashion Makeover on here, which I'm going to use them in their place because I haven't played either of those games if they were made by OG. So we'll get to them in a little while. Okay, next up is Gigantosaurus the game. It's going in C. It's not a bad game. I like the racing sections in between, which feel like they've now been expanded into Gigantosaurus Dino Kart, which would be up in A for me from what I've played of it so far. It's an okay platformer with lots of collectibles and stuff. The camera's not very good, in my opinion, and also it's got co-op, but the co-op camera is really awful. Like, if you go off in the wrong direction and stuff like that, it becomes a nightmare to play, especially with kids who just don't want to listen and do what they want, which is what they do. But you're all trying to go in a certain direction and your kid walks to the other side of the screen and it just all goes mad. So I recommend it playing it solo, but like I say, it's not a bad game, and none of these are terrible games. The only one I really don't like is Hotel Transylvania 3, but it's one of the ones I've at least enjoyed out of the lot. Okay, next up is Adventure Time. This one is going up there in S. It was a free game with Games with Gold as well, so if you're an Xbox subscriber and you have been for a while, you may already have a copy of this. I quite enjoyed this one. It's a good tie-in. Always, I've not really played a bad Adventure game or Adventure Time game on Xbox, so check that one out. Really, really good. Paw Patrol Grand Prix is going in A. That to me is what Blaze Axle City Racer should have been. It's got all the graphics and the sounds and everything that look just like the show, which that game did, but it has a faster pace it feels faster paced. It doesn't feel as sluggish as Blaze did. And there's loads of characters. There's also a DLC that's come out now with new tracks and new car skins and stuff like that, so check that out as well. But yeah, a solid A racing game. Next up is obviously Game of the Year, Peppa Pig. It's got to go in S just because it's Game of the Year. Like it's looks like you're playing an episode of the TV show. It's definitely aimed at younger children, probably under 6. Very simple mechanics, and you just literally spending a day as Peppa Pig really, and as one of her friends, and she follows you around. You interact with all the family and friends from the TV show. You go on like days out, and you go to different places from the show. My daughter really liked this when it came out. Clearly, Game of the Year. We make a joke about it, but there's a sequel coming very soon, in like a week and a half's time, I think. So check it out. You've got to experience the magic of Peppa Pig Game of the Year before Peppa Pig 2 comes out. And I believe it's on Game Pass, or it was for a time, so there's no reason you haven't experienced that greatness. Right, next up is Spirit, Lucky's Big Adventure. This is going in B. It's a cool little game based on the Spirit DreamWorks franchise that's recently sort of had that sort of new film and a series made of it on Netflix. Open world, you sort of ride around as on the horse and stuff like that, with some platforming elements to it. It's not bad. It's a little finicky in places, but a fun game. My daughter enjoyed it. It could have just done with a little more polish. But overall, if you've got a kid that likes horses and those sort of riding around in the big open world and stuff, they'll probably really, really enjoy it and get a lot of time out of it. The actual story mode itself isn't very long, but like I say, there's nothing to stop you just exploring and riding around at your heart's content. Right, next up is Addams Family. I believe it's Mansions of Mayhem or Mayhem Mansions. I can't remember the exact word for it. This is one where the Addams Family have been shrunk down in their home, and they have to obviously work their way through a variety of different rooms of the house. Basically, it's a sort of semi-top-down platforming game. Really fun, up to 4-player co-op. There's enemies to defeat, there's environmental hazards to avoid. Like the first area is like the kitchen, so you're avoiding all like the hot soup and stuff like that, and cleavers and stuff trying to crush you because you're obviously mini. There's tons of little mini games in there, like spread throughout the story mode. Plus, you can all play them single player or multiplayer away from the campaign in sort of like scores, so you can play against your family or friends, whoever's playing with you. Whereas in the main game, it's sort of working together. But I do love the new Addams Family movies. I love the old Addams Family movies. This one is really, really cool, and I hope they do a sequel with more Addams Family goodness, because like we need more Addams Family in the world. Right, next up is Troll Hunters. Now I'm putting Troll Hunters in B. It's a side-scrolling sort of platforming action platforming game based on the DreamWorks TV show Troll Hunters. I've never seen the TV show, so I kind of didn't know what the plot was. It kind of follows on from the show or the movies. You can't go into it blind. Me and my son played it. It's a bit awkward to get co-op on because it doesn't tell you how to do it. So I was just playing. I'm like, I wonder when you can start playing co-op. I wonder if you just have to finish the first level. Finish the first level, and then no, you have to go into the menu and actually switch it on. And then, yet again, it feels very much like the Ryan's Rescue Squad, where the second player sort of follows you along. However, in the second player mode, if you have 2-player, the second player is actually needed to progress. They put some blocks in the way, which aren't there if you play it solo, and those blocks you need to use the second character to sort of teleport across them. So that's a nice little touch to make second player feel a bit more useful. Now, I've never played Zoids or Save the Light, unfortunately. I really want to, but haven't got round to it yet. The Dragons games, I wasn't a fan of the first one, so it's going in C. I haven't played it in a long time, but I remember I got it at launch for my kids. It was like more top down, and it just didn't click with me personally. My kids haven't played it since. We're gonna revisit it soon. I've got the new one the newer one, should I say, Legends of the Nine Realms. We're going to be doing a review of it soon, so we're probably going to revisit the original one once we start playing, and we'll go from there. But right now, last time I played it, it wasn't the greatest experience for me personally, so it's down in C. But I will revisit it to do a review video, so my impressions may change playing it again. We've got Star Trek Prodigy, a solid A. Follows on from the Nickelodeon show Star Trek Prodigy. Actually takes place after some of the episodes and sort of follows the canon on, which I thought was really cool. It's got co-op gameplay where you have to work together to sort of complete puzzles and stuff. It's got the combat and the puzzles as well. All sounds great, looks great. A nice Star Trek game that you can get your kids into, because there's not a lot of Star Trek games, and a lot of them aren't really suited for younger kids, but this one really is. And then, like I say, I'm going to stick LOL Surprise is going in B. So this is basically, to me, it felt like a Overcooked clone, but instead of making food, you're making LOL Surprise balls. Works really well, but the whole areas and stuff like that are built for 2 players. They're very open and sparse. If you're playing it single player, everything just looks a bit empty. Whereas when you play it with multiple people, 2+ players, it does make it a lot better. It's also got like a dancing minigame and like a remembering minigame as well. So there's multiple things to do over multiple levels, and as you progress, you get more and more sort of ingredients and things you have to make. You have to mix them up to get the right balls. Not a bad game by any means. It's just it wasn't sort of. I would rather play Overcooked, but like I say, it's aimed at younger kids, not myself. And then we've got Bratz, which it isn't the Total Fashion Makeover, it is the Bratz game that came out recently. Apologies, I did not make this tier list, but I'm just using it anyway. That's an A game. It's quite good. My daughter quite enjoyed that. It's got like a variety of different cities you go around. You can sort of walk around them, interact with people, do side quests and fetch quests to progress the story. It's basically about building up your followers on your website, and you can take photos. You can do like mini games. There's like scooter racing and stuff like that. There's all sorts of stuff. A variety of different environments. If they're fans of the Bratz dolls, they'll probably really enjoy it. My daughter got a lot of time out of it. Lots to do, loads of different environments to explore. So yeah, winner, winner. And like I say, the only other game I haven't played is the Hotel Transylvania. Is it the Scary Stories or the Scare Stories? Spooky Stories, something like that. That one and How to Train Your Dragon will be... They're literally sat on my to-do list in front of me on my Xbox. They'll be getting played within the next week or two. We've got Trollhunters review coming up after we cover some of the other content, so there's lots of cool stuff coming, so check it out. Won't be long till we go live with it all, basically. But there you go, guys. That is my Outright Games tier list. What do you think? Am I wrong? What do you think are the best Outright games? Like I say, none of them are bad games, apart from Hotel Transylvania 3, I didn't think was a very good game, but that's just me personally. All the rest are more than playable, more than enjoyable. I've just tried to rank them separately so you can see like which are the best to me and which are the least favourite. So let us know in the comments down below which you think are the best, which are the worst. What do you think of those four that I haven't reviewed yet? Like I say, they are coming. And also, for the ones that aren't on there, Dino Karts would be a solid A, so keep an eye out for that. But other than that, guys, thank you very much for watching. We'll see you very soon for more gaming content. And also make sure you check out the DC Justice League Cosmic Chaos game that is out on the 10th of March. We'll be covering it on the channel, and we'll be doing a giveaway on launch day, so keep your eyes out for that. Bye for now, guys.